Hi everyone. Today we are going to discuss about another vegetative part, the stem. The plant stem is a component of shoot system, the portion of the plant body of the angiosperms having phototropic response, which means stem is a part of shoot system and it shows phototropic growth, which means it grows towards light. Not only stem, along with leaves and reproductive organs like flowers, fruits, seeds also present in shoot system. The plant stem has been described as central axis to which all other parts of plant are attached to it. In most of the stems are conspicuous above ground, but in some species they are hidden or present in below the ground or underground. Very first, stem is developed from epicotyle or embryonic shoot of seed. Characteristics of stem. Generally, stem present in above ground. It bears nodes, internodes, leaves and flowers. Characteristic features of stem. Generally, stem is above ground. Stem bears nodes, internodes, leaves and flowers. It supplies nutrients or assimilates from root to leaves and leaves to root. It stores nutrients for supplying other plant parts. External structures of stem. Bud. Very first one is a stem's primary growing point. Bud is a stem's primary growing point. They can be either leafy birds, one vegetative bird, or vegetative and the second one is floral birds, reproductive bird. The floral birds tend to be plumper than leafy birds. Apart from these characteristics, the birds tend to be very similar in appearance. Terminal bird, which is also called apical bird. The tip of a stem shows a terminal bird which releases the plant hormone called auxin. In many plants, this hormone suppresses the development of lateral buds, thereby focusing the growth of the plant in upward rather than outward direction, which is called apical dominance. The second one is lateral buds or axillary buds. These buds grow from the leaf axils on the side of a stem. Node. It is a segment of stem where leaves and lateral buds are attached. Internode. It is the region of stem between two nodes. Leaf scare. When the leaf falls down, it leaves a mark on the stem called leaf scare. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of these plants. The growing point is terminal bud. The part at axils of leaves are called axillary bud. Where the leaves arise from the stem is called nodes. The region between two nodes is called internode. Types of stems based on growing direction. Erect stems. In this type, stems are erect when they grow vertically upward in a direction that is perpendicularly from the base. Prostrate stems. Prostrate when lying flat on the ground, creeping when growing flat on the ground and rooting on the nodes. Climbing are weak stems. Climbing are sandescent when rising by clinging to the other objects by means of tendril. See the diagrammatic representation of erect stem, prostrate stem and climbing stem with mechanical support. Next topic is types of stems based on structure. There are two main types of stems based on texture, such as woody stems and herbaceous stems. Woody stems. These are generally seen in woody plants or trees and in some shrubs. Woody stems are very strong and not easily bendable stems. So these woody plants produces wood as structural tissue. Herbaceous stems. Herbaceous plants are the plants with very flexible stems present in herbs and some shrubs. Their leaves and stems die down to soil level at the end of every growing season. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of woody stem and herbaceous stem. Types of stem based on location. Based on location, with respect to the ground, there are three types such as underground stem, aerial stem, and subaerial stem. Stem functions. Stem gives support and elevation of leaves, flowers, and fruits. Stem keep the leaves in the light and provide a place for the plant to keep its flowers and fruits. Stem supports the leaves, flowers, and fruits and it connects them with the roots. Transport of water minerals and nutrients between the roots and shoots through xylem and phloem. Stem helps in the production of new living tissues because stem have cells called meristem at terminal bud or apical bud region and axillary bud region to generate new living tissues. Young green stems also performs a minor role in the production of food through the process of photosynthesis. Stem modifications. Now, the definition of stem modifications. If stem can change morphologically and permanently to perform some other biological function other than normal functions called stem modifications. Stem modifications are three types: underground stem modifications, aerial stem modifications, and subaerial stem modifications. Let's see the very first type of modifications, underground stem modifications. The underground stems situated below the surface of the soil protect themselves against unfavorable conditions of weather and the attack of animals and serve as storehouses for reserve food material and in vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. Their stem nature can be distinguished by the presence of nodes and internodes, scale leaves. At the nodes they contain axillary buds, in the axils of scale leaves and a terminal bud. Underground stem modifications are four types such as rhizome, corm, stem tuber and bulb. I am repeating again: rhizome, corm, stem tuber and bulb. Let's see about rhizome. A rhizome is a thick horizontally growing stem which usually stores food material. It has nodes and internodes, scale leaves, axillary buds, adventitious roots and a terminal bud. Scale leaves enclosing the axillary buds are seen arising from the nodal points of the stem. Axillary buds helps in vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. Some of the axillary buds develop into branches which grow upwards into the air and then produces normal green foliage leaves for photosynthesis purpose. Usually, the growing points of the rhizome continue to remain underground, causing an elongation of the rhizome. Adventitious roots develop from the lower surface of rhizome, example ginger and turmeric. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of rhizome. See, it is ginger. Adventitious roots are present on lower surface. It is differentiated into nodes and internodes. It contains scale leaves. It contains vegetative buds, which helps in vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. The foliage leaves, which are green in color, which are present in above ground for photosynthesis purpose. The second type of underground stem modification is corm. A corm is greatly swollen underground basal portion of an erect stem. It grows vertically in the soil. The swelling is due to the storage of reserve food material. It bears scale leaves and axillary buds. Axillary buds helps in vegetative propagation. At the end of the growing season, the aerial parts will die. With the return of favorable conditions, usually one axillary bud or rarely more than one axillary bud which is near to the apex develop into a new shoot utilizing the food reserve material in the old calm. The new plant produces a new calm at its base. Example Amorphophallus and Colocasia. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of Amorphophallus. See daughter calms which are formed by axillary buds. Lower base contains adventitious roots differentiated into nodes and internodes. How underground it is growing, everything is in diagram. Colocasia also best example for corn. Let's see the third type of underground stem modification, stem tuber. Stem tuber is a swollen end of an underground stem and stem branch tips. Stem tuber covered by a brown layer called periderm. Each tuber is irregular in shape due to the deposition of food materials like starch. On the surface of each tuber, leaf scars are seen. These leaf scars are the impressions of fallen scale leaves. Each scale leaf scar encloses or represents an axillary bud. This axillary bud called eye which helps in vegetative propagation. Example potato. Let's see the diagrammatic representation. In the underground, the stem or stem branch tips stores food material and became tuberous, which is called stem tuber, covered by a brown layer called periderm. In this potato, they contains small buds which are called eyes, which helps in vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. Now, the very last type of underground stem modification is bulb. In this type, the stem is underground, reduced and represented by a short disc-like structure called bulb. It produces axillary buds called daughter bulbs, helps in vegetative reproduction. As usual, lower surface produces adventitious roots. Bulb doesn't store any food material. Examples onion and garlic. In bulbs of onion and garlic, the inner leaves are fleshy while the outer ones are dry, which is called a tunicated bulb. Leaf bases from a complete covering or tunic. The apical bud of the bulb produces the shoot. The axillary bud sometimes produces daughter bulbs in garlic. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of bulb. Here the reduced stem is actual bulb. It contains adventitious roots in lower surface. On the above, they contain stored scale leaves called tunicated bulb. Here, bulb does not store any food material. The third type, subaerial stem modifications. In some plants, the subaerial stem is modified to perform a variety of special functions other than stem normal functions called subaerial stem modifications. The subaerial stem modifications also are of four types, such as runners, offsets, stolons, and suckers. Very first one, runners. In this type, the runner arises from the base of node of stem and runs along the surface of the soil. At each node, the runner produces adventitious roots into soil and leaves above to the ground. In this way, many runners are often produced by the mother plant and they spread out on the ground on all sides. If any accidental injury results in the separation of a runner, the separated part are capable of leading an independent existence. Examples for runners are grasses, oxalis, fragaria, and strawberry. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of runners in oxalis and grasses. Both the plants, nodal regions produces adventitious roots into the soil, and upper side they contains leaves. Each unit is called runner. Whenever this runner detaches from original or source or mother plant, they can survive as new individual plants, which is called vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. The second type of subaerial stem modification is offset. Generally, this type of modification seen in aquatic plants. The nodal regions of aquatic plant produces balancing roots on lower side, rosette leaves on upper side called offsets. The offsets grow in all directions from the main stem of parental plant. If any accidental injury results in the separation of these offsets, each one is capable of leading an independent existence. Examples for offsets are Pistia and Eucornia. Pistia is also called water lettuce. Eucornia is also called water hyacinth or terror of Bengal. Eucornia contains long, swollen, spongy petioles. Pistia and Eucornia both contains balancing roots for buoyancy, and roots contains root pockets instead of root caps. Let's check the diagrammatic representation of offsets. In Pistium, nodal regions contains balancing roots on lower surface, rosette leaves on upper surface, balancing roots with root pockets. In Eucornia also, nodal regions contains balancing roots on lower surface, leaves on upper surface. Whenever these offsets separates from original or source or mother plant, they can survive as new individual plant, which is called vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. The third one, stolons. In this type, some plant stem which is near to the soil bends towards soil, and when it contacts with soil produces adventitious roots called stolon. If stolon separate from the mother plant by any reason, it can survive as a new individual plant. Examples for stolons are Nerium, Jasminium, and mint plant. Here you have to know stolon is the lateral branch of plant which is near to the soil, and when it bends and contacts with soil, it produces adventitious Let's see roots, the diagrammatic and it is called of stolon. See here, the lateral branch of the plant which is near to the soil, it bends and contacted with soil or underground and produces adventitious roots and forms leaves on upper surface, which is called stolon, which helps in vegetative reproduction or vegetative propagation. The very last type of subaerial stem modification is suckers. In some plants, the lateral branch arises from the soil or underground with adventitious roots called suckers. If sucker separates from the plant by any reason, it can survive as new individual plant. Here you have to remember sucker is a lateral branch of plant and which is arised from soil or underground portion with adventitious roots. Let's see the diagrammatic representation of suckers. See here, the lateral branch raised from soil or underground which contains adventitious roots. Whenever the sucker separated from original or source or mother plant, it can survive as new individual plant, which is called vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. Differences between stolons and suckers. Stolon is lateral branch which is near to the soil, and when it contacts with soil and produces adventitious roots. But in case of the lateral branch is raised from soil or underground and it contains adventitious roots. Important thing we have to remember regarding stem modifications is all underground stem modifications like rhizome, corm, stem tuber and bulb, and all subaerial stem modifications like runners, offsets, suckers and stolons helps in vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. But in aerial stem modifications, the only bulbils helps in vegetative propagation.